As an education major now, and in the future as a teacher, you will use the Louisiana State Standards for all lesson plans. If you conduct a Google search using the terms Louisiana Student Standards and select the first result, you will be directed to this page on the Louisiana Believes website. To access the standards, click the Academic Standards Library link. This page is where you can find all of the standards you need. You may want to bookmark this page so that you can easily return to it anytime you need to work on an assignment for your education classes. The document you select on this page will depend on the subject area you are focusing on. Most education candidates will always use documents that are housed within this section. Birth to 5 candidates may use the Early Childhood BFED Standards document when working on assignments and activities for children who range from infant to kindergarten age. When working on assignments or activities for students from kindergarten through 12th grade, candidates should select any of the K-12 documents by subject area. Each of these documents includes all the standards along with some background information related to that set of standards. I will provide a brief overview of the documents you are most likely to use in the order that they are listed here. Before I begin the review of the document, I want to point out that there is a specific coding mechanism for each standards within the standards document. For example, in the English Standards document, you can see the instructions for standard coding on page 3 of the document. You will learn more about the correct way to enter the standard numbers along with the standard text when you take the lesson plan class. For EDUC 251, you do not have to worry about the standard numbers as long as you copy and paste the text for the standard into your assignments. When writing lesson plans for English, you will use the ELA document. You can use these hyperlinks to jump to the grade level you will focus on. I will select grade 5 as an example. Once you click on a hyperlink, the document will bring you to that grade section of the document. Here are the standards for grade 5 related to ELA. If you are reviewing this document to select a standard, you would look for each of the numbers within that section of the document. So if I were to choose a 5th grade ELA standard, I could select standard 1 in this section, which is quote accurately from a text when explaining that the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences from the text. That would be the standard that you would copy and paste into your standards presentation. Or you could continue scrolling through this grade level and choose any of the other standards listed for this grade level. When writing lesson plans for math, you would choose the math document to locate the standards related to math. Again, there are hyperlinks that will take you to each section of this document based on the grade level you select, or if you are teaching 9th to 12th grade, the hyperlinks are focused on a specific area of math, such as Algebra 1 Geometry or Algebra 2. Once again, you would click on the hyperlink to jump to that section of the document. For math, there is a grade level overview that you can read through that gives an explanation of the skills related to that grade level. And then to locate the standards, you would just scroll past that overview. So here, the standards are broken up into different sections based on different concepts within math. So this A is a overarching concept in math, and then your actual standard again would be this number 1, which is know that numbers that are not rational are called irrational. Understand informally that every number has a decimal expansion, and would continue on through to this period here. So if you were to select this standard for the assignment, you would copy all of this text and then paste this in your slides for the assignment, or you would paste this in your lesson plan if this was the standard that you were choosing to focus on for your lesson plan. If you need to select science standards, you will click on the link titled Louisiana Student Standards for Science. Rather than opening in a new tab like the other standards, this will download a zip file onto your computer. Once you open this file, you will find separate documents for kindergarten through 8th grade science standards, and then separate documents for each of the science subjects that may be taught in high school. When you open one of the documents, you will notice that they look very different from the other standards documents. Each standard is separated onto an individual page for that standard. You will notice that the numbers are in the upper right-hand corner, and then the actual text for the standard is called the performance expectation. So if you wanted to select this particular standard, you would copy all of this text from use evidence to construct an explanation relating the speed of an object to the energy of that object. So that is the text that you would paste in your presentation. On that page, you will also find some other information about that standard, like the clarification statement tells you a little bit more about that standard, and then there's some other information that science teachers will use whenever they are writing lesson plans for different topics that they may cover in their class. If you are looking for standards for high school science, then you would select a subject related to science. So typically, I believe physical science maybe would be 9th grade, environmental science maybe would be 10th grade, and then chemistry or physics would be 11th or 12th grade. So you will start with the subject area you want to focus on, and you might not necessarily focus so much on the actual grade level. This will just depend on the classroom you maybe would be teaching in. For the 251 assignment, I am not as worried about the grade level as long as you select one of these subject areas and you select a standard from within those subject areas. When you are writing lesson plans for social studies, you would of course select the social studies document. This one is probably the easiest of all the documents to read through and understand. So just like the English and math documents, you have hyperlinks to the grade levels up to 8th grade, and then for high school grades, you have different aspects of social studies like world geography, civics, U.S. history, world history. This is the order that these are typically taught in, so world geography is usually 9th grade, civics is 10th, U.S. history is 11th, and world history is usually 12th grade. There are some exceptions to that, obviously. So once you determine the grade level or area that you are teaching, you would click on that hyperlink, and then although this says standard 1 here, these are actually your standards, so those that start with the letters here, and then they have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Those are your actual standards, even though it says standard 1 up here. So if you were choosing geography standard 1.2, you would select all of this information, and then you would copy and paste that into the assignment for 251 or into your lesson plans. And I say social studies is typically the easiest because they actually include the codes that you are supposed to use within the text of the standards, rather than you having to kind of figure out what the appropriate code is like you do in some of the other documents. So again, whichever standard you select, you would just copy all of that text, and then you would paste that directly into your assignment or the lesson plan that you are working on. If you are asked to teach or integrate any arts-related standards, you would utilize the Arts Standards document. This includes standards related to dance, music, theater, arts, and visual arts. If you are an HPED major, your standards are located in separate sections for health and physical education below. These standards are broken up into separate documents by grade level. When teaching a lesson related to these topics, you would select a document based on the grade level you will be working with to locate the appropriate standards. The standards in this document are labeled as Standard 1, Standard 2, etc. And then below each of these standards you have something called GLE, which stands for Grade Level Expectations. So you may choose to copy this for your 251 assignment, but in some lesson plans you also may be asked to include some of the GLEs because this further breaks down those standards topics. So you can choose to do either. You can copy the standard or you can also include one or two of the grade level expectations if you prefer to focus on that particular topic. You will learn a lot more about the standards documents related to your major when you take the lesson plan class and your other education classes. Your professors will provide you with additional information about how to select the appropriate standards from the documents. For 251, I just want to see that you can pick a standard and create a presentation related to that topic. Try not to overthink selecting a standard too much for this particular assignment.